All right, Ben. Okay, JJ McCarthy lights it up on Tuesday, right? One incompletion all day. By all accounts, from everyone that was there, he threw the ball all over the field, looked great. Beautiful deep pass down the sideline. And then he steps up to the podium and somebody asks him, have you thought about wanting to be traded? And
Mm.
he delivers this response.
I think I made it very clear I wanted to be here before I got here. And I love this organization. I love the coaching staff. I absolutely love these players to death. This is where I want to be. I feel like I can thrive in this system. And, it's just, everything played out exactly how I wanted it. I wouldn't want anything else to change.
Okay, see, I think this is all anybody was looking for last week. This is the big boy stuff that people were anticipating, last week. Go out, play well, talk well, and put some points for yourself on the board in this QB competition. And it was a really good day for him on the field. It was a really good day for him at the podium. And no matter what you think of this competition so far, he very clearly put some points for himself on the board on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, can can I be nitpicky?
Oh my God. I can't, you
Can
can't let me. Yes, I want you to be nitpicky, but you can't let me have anything. Go ahead. Nitpick. Pick the
okay.
nit, Ben.
Okay, I'm gonna be the nit in this nitpicking thing. I obviously love the performance.
Hmm.
Love hearing about how he stepped up and then he's treating this like a real competition, which I hope it is. And he's going out there under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure from a lot of eyeballs and a lot of judgment, literally on every step that he takes, because
Yeah.
so much of what he is being scrutinized for is his footwork, is his mechanics, all that stuff. So it'd be very easy to be paralyzed by that sort of judgment by everybody. So he goes out there and delivers. He performs. He performs under pressure, which is what we want every player to do, especially quarterback. This is the one thing I didn't love about his answer that I just thought was like everything was great until the very end when he said something along the lines of, "It's played out exactly how I wanted and wouldn't
Yeah.
change anything."
Yeah, but
And I'm like,
I get
yeah,
it, but I get it, but
I
isn't that
get
what
what
you
you're
wanted
trying
last?
to
That's
do.
It's a pro answer. It's a professional. I get what you're saying, but it's a pro answer.
It's a everything was believable. Everything was like even it was a professional, mature answer. He says he wants to be here. I love the players. This and he I think he truly does believe in this. That's why I think 90% of what he said is I think that he's really speaking from the heart. I really do. Like
Mhm.
it's he wants to be here. He loves the players, which I definitely think he loves the players. We've seen that's very, very evident. I mean, just go back to the wild playoff game where he bought out that suite and it was packed full of all of his teammates and they were having
Yeah.
a great time. Like I think he loves his teammates and he really does believe that this is a system that he can thrive in. I think all of that is accurate. That is all speaking from the head and from the heart. And then you throw out the fact that after everything that he said, he's like, this is exactly how I wanted to play out. And I wouldn't change anything. It's like, really? I mean, again, I know I'm nitpicking, and I'm not gonna.
You
I'm
are.
not like gonna hold him upside down for this. I just think that if you left that part out, A plus, 100% great answer. If he just stopped with, "Hey, this is a system I think I can thrive in. I love being here." End of story. End of quote. I'm like, damn, nailed it. A plus. Um, you throw in a line how like you really want us to believe that this is how exactly you wanted it to go and this is how you want it to play out. Like, I don't believe that. Like
Well,
that is not how you wanted this to go. And this is not how the situation that you probably planned for it to go, but it's the situation that you're in and you're dealing with it. So it goes from like an A plus answer to like an A minus answer.
let me give you the pushback on that. One, that exactly the way I want it to go, context, who know, like you're talking, you're answering questions, your brain. He might have been contextualizing that original part of the answer, which was this is where I wanted to get drafted to. This is the system I wanted to be in. He might not have been, literal. He wasn't being literal maybe with that last answer. The other thing I would say is I think with all the criticism last week, like the quarterback, you are a certain sort of face of an organization. And it's kind of like big movie stars. I
Mhm.
watched this article with Chris Pine once, and he talked about it is really hard to deliver a line that everybody ends up thinking is corny and still have it fit in a movie. Like big Star Trek movie, you got to turn to the camera and say this thing, and it's written corny, and there's no other way it could be written, but you have to deliver it, and you can't let everything spiral off and fall off the tracks, and everybody goes, "Oh, it's a movie." I think there's a little bit of that here. Like, you can't
Yeah.
have this good day, give this
Yeah.
great answer, and then at the end, like, not do the pro quarterback thing. So I almost argue the opposite. I think that's kind of the only thing he could do there, and I think it's a sign of the thing he was getting criticized for last week with maturity. Like, I thought that was a big time franchise face quarterback answer. So I I
I
I
okay.
disagree.
Um, you probably don't remember how clunky my actual back pedal is in real life. But I will metaphorically backpedal on that, on my
Okay.
take. I think that you contextualized the end of that answer in a way that I wasn't thinking. That um he was probably referencing like I wouldn't change getting drafted here. The my plan to play under KOC was kind of the plan all along, and it's all worked out. So yeah, he was probably referencing based on the actual question about his status to get here or the process to get here
Yeah.
versus I definitely planned on having the franchise bring in
Multiple
a
injury,
a,
yeah.
a seventh year quarterback to come in and compete for my spot. So that yeah, I'll do my best backpedal on that and agree with you that that's probably what he was referencing.
Yeah, I just think it's I can't we haven't had a real QB competition here in, I don't know, Wade Wilson, Rich Gannon, I don't know, and so I think you have to understand what it means. It's America's most popular sport.
Mhm.
It's America's most important position, the quarterback, in the most popular sport in the offseason. And I know, here's the thing, I hear from the fans who are like, "So you're the ones who are doing this. The media is making it." And that is true, but I think
Sure
that
it is.
doesn't acknowledge, you know, the appetite, and that, like, people like this. They like, not everybody. There are a lot of 60-year-old dads who are like, just shut up and show me the plays. But there are a lot of people who love the speculation, and they love the and they love the debate, and they love diving into all this. And it's a part of, like, that drives this industry through the offseason in this big way that all contributes to it being this monster, this revenue generating monster. And so I think when you step into a quarterback competition, you have to understand that as one of the QBs. Like, I know it sucks. I know people are going to be analyzing every word and every bit of footwork, but you just have to recognize that is the reality of the situation. And I thought on Tuesday, he looked like a guy who did. Now,
Yeah.
Kyler, meanwhile, threw back-to-back interceptions. It wasn't his best day on the field. And then he was asked in his presser by Judd Zalgad, I think, essentially, what's been the hardest thing in the transition between here and Arizona? And instead of talking about the organizations or the offenses, he kind of, well, not kind of, he just basically discussed the competition aspect.
I think the toughest part is, again, I was there for 7 years. I know I had two different, offensive systems, but at the same time, you're getting all those reps. Now having to split reps, it's me already being behind, not getting the amount of reps that you would typically want a guy to get learning an offense. That's probably the toughest part. Just again going back to the past, being in control of everything, understanding what we were already doing because I was comfortable within the system. Now coming into the new system, learning on the fly, trying to play fast, efficient, and let it loose while learning is that's the toughest part.
Okay, this has me more bought in. Like, all the people who are saying that the competition is a fraud, like, I think we all agree there's a leader in the clubhouse,
Yeah.
but I hadn't thought about it like this. This isn't the 1990s where you can have two quarterbacks go out in the field and throw footballs into the night and decide. Like, there's so many restrictions with the CBA and, with health security and all these things. The reps are really, really, really precious. And the fact that they're splitting them now, and they seem, by all accounts, willing to split them into training camp, I do think that's more of a show me than tell me that whether there's a leader or not, it's not completely over, and they do wanna really see what JJ is capable of in this sort of pressure cooker sorta situation.
I thought this was a really honest and telling quote from Kyler because previously he has given very mature answers, and this was a mature answer. I'm not saying it wasn't mature, but
No.
I think it gives you like a real insight to like where he is mentally.
Yeah.
And I freaking love the idea that they are still creating this competition internally, and they're making these guys fight and earn every one of these reps. And the reason why I love it is because for the first time maybe ever, both quarterbacks are really being put to the test.
Mhm.
And if they can create, even if it's an illusion, that Kyler Murray has to fight for every single rep and every single development piece of this to earn the starting quarterback spot, then that is going to make both of them better. And who benefits? The organization
Mhm.
benefits and the team benefits from this. You go back and look at Kyler's career. He starts at A&M. He transfers after a year. He sits behind Baker Mayfield, who goes on and wins a Heisman. And then Kyler goes on and he earns a spot. Was it ever a competition with he and Baker? No, never a competition with him and Baker. It was Baker's job. So he got to sit back, learn, wasn't really pushed, wasn't in the pressure cooker, goes out there and performs at a high level, goes to Arizona, and becomes the rookie of the year, offensive
Mhm.
rookie of the year. Was he ever challenged? Was he ever pushed? No. He gets into last year, and Jacoby Brissett, they felt like ran the offense better than him. During the middle of the season, you can't really create a competition. You just have to go on to the next game. So they made this decision to bench Kyler, let him get fully healthy. They let him go at the end of the year. This is the first time, and you can actually hear it in his voice and the words that he's saying. This is the first time I think he actually feels like, oh shit, like I got to go out there and earn it. Like
Huh.
not just week to week, but like day to day and rep to rep. And I go out there and throw back to back interceptions. Well, my dauber is down. My competitor over here only has one incomplete pass all game long or all day long, and he's delivering deep balls down the field and seemingly running the offense the way it's supposed to be run. You got to think maybe for the first time in a long time, he's looking over his shoulder like, damn, dude, I can't have a down day. I can't have a down rep. I can't have a down drill. And so, man, I love the insight that he gave us that this is tough on him, that it's going to be tough on him. And I hope to goodness that they keep this competition and splitting this reps 50-50 all the way through training camp.
I saw an interview with KOC, and they asked him about that. And he talked about kind of when he would make the decision and how, and he basically alluded to that he's gonna have, like, a really efficient training camp plan. They've really thought it out, it's really methodical, but the one part of the answer that I really honed in on was he essentially said, you know, "We've got a plan, and we're gonna do it out in the we want everybody to see everything. We want nothing hidden. We want every player on the field, every coach to see everything so that when we make a decision, it's very clear what the decision was."
Mhm.
And it made me think about something you and I have talked about a lot, off air, which is players know. You know, I think when we first started getting to know each other, I used to bug you about that. Like, when did you know Percy Harvin was the guy, and when did you know Tavares wasn't? And I just don't think you can hide that. And so to add to that, this competition will have the results that it should. I loved that answer, and I think players need to have faith in the answer, and I think just letting these guys do it in front of everybody in such a particular way will create that environment.
Yeah, and the thing is, because everything's so highly scrutinized,
Mhm.
ye it's hard not to be transparent with any sort of competition, whether it's quarterback or anything else. I mean, think about from a quarterback situation, if who's going to know that? Well, it's the quarterbacks in the room, it's the quarterback coach, it's the offensive coordinator. They're going to be critiquing these guys with every rep. Then it's going to
Mhm.
be the guys that they're throwing to, which means the tight ends and the wide receivers. They're going to be getting footballs from both of these guys, so they're going to know who's accurate, who's not, who's on time, who's processing highly, who's not. And then the flip side, it's the guys that are guarding those guys that are getting the football. It's the linebackers and the defensive backs.
Yeah.
And you don't think that we go into our film room and we're like, damn, that's a big boy throw right there. Like, oh, we're watching 7-on-7 because we get graded too. So if I give up a catch to TJ Hawkinson and I think I have good coverage, but then I look at who's throwing the football, I'm like, phew, that was an elite throw by McCarthy. And the thing is, your coach will probably give that offensive player props. Like, hey man, good body position, like what you did here, like where your hips are here, like where your hand usage is here. But that's damn, sometimes that's an unguardable pass right there. And that gets cataloged in your brain of like, okay, JJ made a big time throw there. Kyler makes a big time throw there. And you start stacking those things up. And the players know. They know exactly who's kind of winning the quarterback competition. Maybe not from the minute level of like who's getting in and out of the huddle better and who's processing some of these plays better. But when it comes to just flat out performance, it's hard to hide from that.
So then, with all that in mind, he didn't give an answer, and obviously he wouldn't, on when the decision is gonna be made. Does it get to live bullets? That's my big question because that's a whole different level of scrutiny. Does it get do we get to the first and or second preseason game and these guys are going to go out and split reps and run offenses with the entire football world's eyeballs on it without an answer? Or are we going to have an answer going into preseason 1? That's the thing that I'm most fascinated by.
I know that we are over analyzing every quote and every report that comes out of individual practices. But as of Tuesday's practice, I would say that no, this thing could go down to the wire, and it could go down as deep as to the third preseason game before they actually make a decision. And at that point, they might be forced to make a decision, and we might even know just based on who's playing in that third preseason game and what it looks like. So, um, I hope to goodness that it is neck and neck, and McCarthy is pushing him, and Kyler's got to look over his shoulder all the time and perform under pressure as well. I want that pressure cooker turned up to high,
Uh-huh.
battened down as tight as it can, and see who comes out of this thing.
Yeah, I think it's fun. That answer to me, that's a fun. Sorry, angry football dads, but if you give me down to the wire, like teeth and nails battling for I love it. And I think to your point, the organization, even though that's a brutal process, the organization ultimately benefits from it, and I think that's what we all want as fans.